we present the news quiz with your chairman, Simon Hoggart.
Hello and welcome again to the news quiz. We start with a cutting from the Daily Express.
The Ordnance Survey has been busy updating information on some of its more remote areas of coverage. Mapping experts were slightly baffled by the popularity of Gwyliwchaki as a place name. But they've tidied that one up now. Having carried out fresh surveys, they found out it's Welsh for beware of the dog.
Thanks to Joe Maid in Sale for that. Let's meet the teams. Please welcome first on my right, Andy Hamilton and Linda Smith. And facing them on my left, Alan Corran and Jeremy Hardy. Andy, you have the first question. Who is pledging to start the election campaign?
Oh, it was terminally depressing to wake up at the start of the new year and discover that it's the run-up to an election and we're going to have a new initiative every day, which will be wonderful. All paid for by these, presumably by these lovely contributors. Actually, I was thinking of conducting a social experiment, Simon. I'm going to write you a cheque now for £2 million. All right, now I'm going to do that. I'll do it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'll willingly do it. And I want to ask you, if I wrote you a cheque for £2 million, do you think I'd want anything in return? What do you reckon? Do you think I might,
Well, I'd be happy to let you advertise cigarettes on the back of my jacket.
Yeah, I think it'd be reasonable to expect someone to want a little bit of something in return, but apparently not the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister maintains that people give him £2 million and don't want anything in return, which I think makes him mentally ill and not fit to run the country. Also, there's one called Mr. Bourne, isn't there? Where the man is giving them a lot of money via offshore funds. So, at the moment for Labour, there is one Bourne every minute. There you are, Simon. £2 million, that. Yeah.
A long time since you had a cheque out of that book, isn't it? All the perforations are filled up, Andy, with pocket fluff.
It's still got shillings and pence on it, though. All right.
What I liked about that thing, of all the tiny hypocrisies that we have to mention now, because in a couple of months, God, I sound like John Wayne, get all the way of it. Well, they began to do in 2 months' time when we won't be able to talk about the election. But of all the hypocrisies he started, Blair said he was proud that millionaires wanted to give him money. What a lie. If he was proud, why do you have to get to him with a tire lever to find out who's given it or why they've given it?
It could be used for posters as well. Most people go on posters. I would like to know if there is a single person in this audience who has been sitting at the traffic lights, they've made up their mind which way they're voting at the election, and they look at the poster and they think, no, that's right, that catchy slogan. I was a fool. It's just money wasted, surely.
But I believe that the new Agriculture Minister, Lord Monsanto, will walk out of the room. Any time an important decision relating to GM crops is taken, he will leave the room. I believe that, totally.
So, 870 points to Andy for that.
Yes, I've got a feeling it's not going to be their night tonight.
No, you get what you pay for, Linda, in life. That's what I've found over the years.
Linda, whose white Christmas led to an epiphany?
Yes. Ha-ha. Greg Dyke, isn't it? Greg
It is.
Dyke. Went to a
hideously
Christmas
white
party.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah?
hideously white. He went to a party somewhere, Christmas. Had a look round the room, BBC party managers, had a look round the room. Thought, hello, what is wrong with this picture? Only one black person there. So he decided that possibly the BBC... I know it's hard to believe, audience sitting here, looking at the Rainbow Nation, that is the news quiz panel.
Well, I'm only hideously white because of the season. By about June, I shall be hideously pink. In fact, I went to that party, and if Greg had stayed around after about 2 hours, where they'd been shifting this cheap Sumatran gin, they all gradually became hideously pink and generally hideous. Why did he choose the word hideous? I mean, what is hideous about being white, as far as Dyke's concerned?
Was Jeremy Clarkson at the party? That might...
But it's not fair to say that everyone at the BBC is white, because, many of the very, very badly paid jobs are done by black people. You know, it's only the real high flyers and the people who run everything that are all white. And not very good at it.
Yes, but be fair, they wouldn't have a chance of doing the cleaning. The place would be filthy. Greg Dyke looking after something important like that.
It should be good if the executives did take over the cleaning, because it'd all be rescheduled, where instead of going to the toilet when you felt like it, you'd have to go on a Tuesday afternoon.
And you'd have a target.
Yeah.
And little pie charts for if you didn't meet the target, you know what.
The Director General of the BBC, Greg Dyke, noticed at a Christmas lunch for his managers that only one of the 80 people there was not white. 2 points to Linda. Jeremy, who wants British Armed Forces to be given their due?
This must be the very highly safe and nutritious depleted uranium, which nutrifies as it cleans, as it kills. There's all these ridiculous rumours that spread as fast as uranium dust on a light breeze. And all these scare stories, which are started by irresponsible ex-servicemen dying of unexplained diseases, who are flying in the face of the truth that we know, that the government has spelled out, that you can safely feed a DU shell burger to your daughter and she will come to no harm, except that bit by bit they're saying, well, actually, yeah, they're not really that good for you. And you should probably have a balanced diet as well as breathing uranium dust if you want to have a fighting chance of surviving for a couple of years. So they've now announced that they're going to have an inquiry, but they will exclude Iraq from the inquiry for the simple reason that a lot more DU was used there, which could mess up the results by proving that it causes disease. And all these scientists are saying, well, we have found no evidence. Well, bloody look for it. You're on the public payroll, find the evidence, talk to the people.
They didn't plan to go to war with them, of course, because the man on Newsnight, night before last, was saying these depleted uranium is only dangerous after the shells explode. Why do you keep them in the carton and never use them? They're perfectly all right. We have made this enormous mistake of firing these things. And I don't know, what is it depleted from? You're a scientist, we've had that from before. What was it before?
It's a byproduct of nuclear technology, of nuclear power, I think. It's leftover scrapings and slops from the core floor, which is shoveled up and stuffed in it. Yeah, all the best bit. The bit that people don't eat because they think it looks horrible.
The crispy bits.
Yeah, they put them in the shell.
Chernobyl little chef, you mean?
Yeah, and then they put it in the shell, and they whack it off, and it kills loads of people and then spreads toxic dust all over a very, very
nice
wide
to think
area.
that nothing's wasted, really.
That's what happens when you book NATO for the gig, though. It has to be said. I mean, if you let NATO into your country, I mean, it's like inviting the changing rooms people in. Once they've got in there, the place is going to be a toxic dump forever, and I think you have to face that, really. You see, Mark Leahy, we paid his wages when he was BBC defence correspondent, and we would say, this bloke is just a mouthpiece for NATO. And the NATO suddenly thought, well, that's rather a good idea. And so they hired him, and he used to look so sad, and now he looks all happy. He was on Channel 4 News, and he used to look like this lonely figure talking about defence. And you knew that at the end of the report, he went back to his little bedsit surrounded with his Airfix toys and his magazines in which the enemies said, Aga her Himmel as they fell. And now he's on Channel 4 News looking so pleased. He's saying, we at NATO, that's we, NATO, that's because I got a job with them now, see? That's we. They're my friends. They are. They're NATO. I met officer the other day, I did. And I've been to the bathroom. I have. Weirdo.
That's all because he used to nick your parking space, isn't it? Actually, going back to what Alan was saying about, to be fair to the MOD, I think what they said was the shell is only dangerous if you fire it at something hard. Yeah. So as long as you fire it at,
Kids and stuff is all right.
Yeah. Bouncy castles, it can take them out and it doesn't harm anybody. Just don't aim it at a tank. It's not what it was designed for.
2 points.
Oh!
He has to clear that with me now.
Do you take plastic?
Alan, listen to this.
I play the street life because there's no place I can go.
Alan, who took issue with street crime?
Yeah, this is Jack Straw, who doesn't really understand how spinning in PR works. The man tried to sell him a copy of The Big Issue, and Jack said, I'll have that, and gave the bloke a tenner and waited for £9 change. She thought the man, a tussle then ensued, and he ended up paying £2. But what's really upset Jack Straw is the fact that crime figures go up because everything is portable. And it's the nightmare of our times. Once we invent portable radios and cars and portable phones, portable means you can take them away. And, mobile phones would really be the size of grandfather clocks and be pulled by 2 horses. And then they wouldn't get nicked. But there's something like, it was 30 or 40,000 crimes last year of nickable stuff being nicked simply because school children had it in their pockets. And all the movable goods in the world are just moving between other people. I think I'll stop now because I've reached my last
Alan, could
voice.
you sing I Was Born Under a Wandering Star? I preferred Jack Straw when he was the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Wasn't quite as scary as he is now.
Andy, why has the post office been consigned to the bin?
Oh, that's my answer. All these big companies that have been known by the same name, they realise that if people know what they're called, then people can complain to them. So they're now inventing obscure words which sort of look like, badly remembered Greek or Latin, and the post office have decided to call themselves consignia. I don't know what it's supposed to...
Sounds like cheap shower gel to me.
Yeah.
The mark of a man with £3 to spend on personal hygiene.
It's certainly... I think we can safely say that the name hasn't been a success so far, judging by the general reaction. Clearly this is the trend, a sort of rebranding thing. So I think I'm going to call myself Ambrosia. For commercial purposes. And I don't understand, it's part of some huge identity crisis whereby nobody's allowed to know what anything is anymore. I mean, and British Steel is now called Chorus.
We could be called Corin.
And what is Chorus? What is it supposed to be? The goddess of steel. Anyway, it's all pointless because everyone will continue to call it the post office, won't they? They're not going to say I queued for an hour at consignia.
Apparently it's so they can compete in the international market, because they said, well, we can't call ourselves the post office, say, in another country, because they've already got something called the post office. But that's sort of the point, really, isn't it? And then you have the post office, and you have the gas, and you have the electricity, but now it's all changed, and Pizza Hut ring you up and say, oh, do you want us to deliver your milk? And you think, no, I don't.
Also, surely the post is going to get slower. If your postman has to compete with a postman in Spain,
He's going to be abroad all the time.
he's going to be knackered. He's going to get... I'm sorry that package was 3 days late, and I'd have to do half of Madrid. It was just... And now I put poor Sergio out of a job, and... Absurd.
The spokesman explained the name consignia describes the full scope of the work we do in the way that the words post and office do not. Changing names is the latest craze among giant corporations. Scottish Telecoms, it's true, has recently changed its name to Thus, which of course is Scottish for this. Jeremy, which former Oxford Fellow will soon be one British school teacher who doesn't get any more rises?
Mr. T.
I know.
Mr. T?
You know Mr. T, yes.
From the 80s?
Well, he's now Miss T. Yes, he's not the 20-stone black wrestler covered in gold chains, but he was a maths teacher at Charterhouse.
Really?
And he's now going to live as a woman. I don't think he's had the operation because the matron wasn't quite up to it. So it's a limit to what you can do with 2 spoons and a bit of elastoplast. No, I mean, come on, it's a serious story. And the bloke's had a tough life. He's going to be less tough as a non-bloke.
He said he felt like a woman trapped in a man's body, which must have been horrible, because I was once a woman trapped in a changing room at Selfridges, and that made me quite panicky.
I've been trapped in a woman's body. It wasn't that bad.
Alan, could you sing Barry White's Love Unlimited?
You could be the love walrus of Cricklewood.
Nicholas T., a former Oxford rowing blue and Charterhouse science teacher, has just announced his decision to have a sex change. He said he was just trying to move with the times. In modern education, nobody takes a packed lunchbox to school anymore. Alan, why is the government worried the 2001 census won't get through the mail?
This is the young again who are not interested in filling up the census. And the only people who will fill up the census will be people like me, people with voices older than mine. And the structure of this country will be seen to start at about 47 up until death. And we'll never know how many young people there are. Except if we look out of the window and see how many mobile phones have disappeared from the street, then we will know nothing about youth. And the young are not interested in collaborating with the government.
I don't understand this story. Why don't young people want to fill out a census form? What is it? They can't be bothered.
Because it's so unfair.
You just don't understand, do you, Andy? I'm going to my room.
Officials working on the first British census of the new millennium fear it may be ignored by 20-something males and are planning to put adverts in men's magazines and send text messages to their mobile phones.
You better answer it, Jeremy.
What is your...
Oh, Jeremy, that's what I call timing.
Nobody ever rings mine. I'm amazed that that's happened. I mean, I try everything. I go to the theatre, I go to the cinema, I leave it on aeroplanes. No one phones.
There was an answer to that question, but I've forgotten what it was.
A friend in the audience knew the answer and rang me up.
Before we start the final round, here's a cutting from the Dumfries and Galloway Standard.
A 46-year-old man who committed a New Year disturbance has been fined £350. Richard Wiley of Dumfries pleaded guilty to hitting himself on the head with an ashtray.
It's not an offence, that's an act. I'd pay to see that.
Thanks to Jean Clayworth of Sanker for that one. Listen, Andy, listen. Guess the question.
Guess the question?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
See, Andy baffled. Look, Andy baffled.
It's Janet and John.
Yes.
They've updated Janet and John books. And now they're much more modern. It's like Janet and John download some porn and stuff like that. I don't remember reading Janet and John. I remember the first book I remember reading was Chicken Licking, which had a marked effect on me. It was about a chicken who believes the sky is
That's Henny Penny.
Well, but Chicken Licking goes around thinking the sky's going to fall in. I'm sure she
Henny
does.
Penny's the lead character in it.
Well, she's the troublemaker who starts it. But that had a marked effect on me. I was very cautious, and as a child I worried a lot. And I remember reading that and going outside, looking at the sky and think, there's nothing holding it up, actually, strictly speaking. Wore a hard hat for days. But anyway, yeah, they've updated Janet and John.
So as a child, you shared the fears of a fictional chicken.
Yes, I did, and it's what made me the man I am today. I still can't really walk past the butcher's very easily. If there's chicken in the windows, I still have a glance upwards.
It's the return of Janet and John with a new up-to-date, ethnically diverse image. Educationalists have attacked Janet and John's heavy emphasis on mindless repetition, a lesson which BBC's schedulers have sadly yet to learn. Linda, Sven is the new boss taking over. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Oh, that's really tricky. Because it's football, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the new coach, the New England coach, called Sven... Is it Goran?
Goran Eriksson.
It's a song, isn't it? Sven Goran Eriksson. Isn't it?
Well, it is now.
It's Danny Kaye, I think. In the film, he was Danny Kaye.
Yeah, I think he's a fairy tale.
And we were really lucky to snap him up as the England coach because he's done spectacularly well at Lazio, so well that they're letting him go early. So I imagine the FA were the same people who probably put their money into Betamax videos and 8-track cassettes, because, yeah, the good news is he's available immediately. That's the one, isn't it?
The great thing is the curse of that job, because he was winning lots of games until he got made the England manager, and then he couldn't win anything after that. And I don't think it bodes well. I think even as we speak, there are Fleet Street editors sharpening vegetables ready for him. And he's a Swede. I mean, what a gift! What a gift! And he's got an assistant called Grip Tord. And, I mean, that's just hours of fun for a headline writer, isn't it?
People get all upset about the fact we've got a foreign manager for England, but surely it's the fact that we've got English players that's going to be the real problem, isn't it? That's the thing we've got to iron out, really.
They're paving the way to that. Think, well, once we get the foreign manager, then they can say, well, look, the players don't understand him. We've got to have a few foreigners in to make it fair.
Ericsson is the first ever England manager for whom English is a foreign language. He takes over from Kevin Keegan, the 19th English manager for whom football was a foreign language. 2 points to Lyndon. Alan, what stony facade hid a moving story?
What stony facade?
Yeah.
Stony facade.
Alan, what stony facade hid a moving story?
We know, miss.
No, well, give Jeremy a chance. Do you know this?
We don't know, but can we have the points anyway?
Will cost you.
Is it the asteroid?
We laugh at you.
There's a big asteroid.
You poor fools.
Well, you wouldn't laugh if you had an asteroid like I have. I tell you, when this hits Earth, the dinosaurs will rule again. It's not the asteroid that looks like a face or something, no?
It's about a house move, is it?
No, it's not.
Zero.
Buster Keaton.
Zero. This is about Stonehenge.
Yes.
Stonehenge. Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen went and he moved all Stonehenge around. That's right, isn't it?
That's it. Put in a pergola and a water feature, bit of gravel.
The Stonehenge we see today is not what the Druids meant.
Not at all.
No.
It wasn't the original conception at all.
No, it was actually just a pile of rubbish that the Druids chucked out.
Well, it was the equivalent of the Druid Dome. They had their first millennium celebrations there. They hadn't gone too well, to be honest. They were a bit rubbish, and they left it to go to rack and ruin.
Long queues. They left it so it was just a higgledy-piggledy pile of stones, and then a few historians came along and said, "Oh, we know what they meant. They meant to put it up in this strange formation that looks like sort of lots of goalposts in a circle, and that's the Stonehenge we see today. It's a lie."
What, they're supposed to just toss them aside in a cavalier fashion and they landed in that way?
Yeah, basically, they were big blokes, the Druids. They used to walk around with very large Welsh stone in their pockets and everything. Yeah, I think that's right.
That's the answer. You're going to give him a point. Even if it's true, it shouldn't be.
It had the word stone in the clue. There's no need to look so aggrieved, you two. I think it had the word stone and moving around, didn't it? I mean, me and Linda, we're not being judgmental or anything, but, you know, you were pretty thick not to get it.
This is one of the wonders of the ancient world. Next they're going to say, oh, the pyramids are just some Toblerone with sand covering them.
Stonehenge was restored in fits and starts over a period of 60 years between 1901.
We present the news quiz with your chairman, Simon Hobbit.
Hello and welcome again to the news quiz. We start with the classified ad seen in the Liverpool Echo, read by Brian Perkins.
Top Robbie Williams tribute band require a new front person, male or female.
Thanks to Graham Madrell for that. Let's meet the teams now. Please welcome first on my right, Jeremy Hardy and Armando Iannucci. Opposite them on my left, Francis Ween and Linda Smith. Jeremy, the traditional easy question. Whose sexy dossier turned out to be a bad read?
I have absolutely no idea. In September, the government published up-to-date specifications on Iraq's capabilities, which were very, very modern and contained phrases like, the Mesopotamian is a wily Arab, more skittish than the dervish, but more stationary than the Bedouin. And so far, they have actually found in Iraq huge underground stocks of a toxic liquid which clings to the skin and suffocates by blocking the pores, and you can run cars on it, which is good. But apart from that, they found very little, and we keep being told we were deceived. We weren't. We didn't believe them. I'm tired of Claire Short saying, "We've all been joked," and you think, no, Claire, you were. No. You thought you'll stay in the government, attack Blair's rear from the inside. People, they say, well, there's intelligence, isn't there? They must know something we don't know. I'm sorry, I refuse to believe there is anything that George Bush knows that I don't. How to hold a fork, how to use the bathroom correctly, I can do all of those things. But, and Reader said, it's all there are forces more powerful than we can possibly control who are manipulating this. And it's all the spooks and the spies trying to topple Blair by telling us stuff that we already know.
Well, I sort of sympathise with them a bit, looking for these weapons of mass destruction, because I'm like that with scissors. Honestly. I just turn the house upside down. Of course, the difference is I know I have got some scissors.
They lied twice over, because in that dossier it also said that there was a chap called Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and no one's found him, so he could...
The dispute is over the claim that Saddam had weapons that could be utilised within 45 minutes. And he said that in the dossier that was simply a misprint, and it should be Saddam could use them within 45 years.
And if he hadn't used them, he could return them to the manufacturer in the original packaging, which would be in America.
It's the continuing controversy over government claims about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction, fueled further this week by John Reed's decision to attack rogue elements within the security forces. Claims that the government routinely sought to sex up briefings were denied by a senior civil servant who was wearing a peekaboo bowler hat and a crotchless three-piece suit. Armando, who's decided to solve the contiguing saga in the Middle East this week?
This is Jeremy's friend, this is George Bush, who has been travelling all around the world. And he went to France to case the joint, right? and then he went to Egypt and had a conference in Alexandria, European City of Culture, 2000 BC. And he looked at the pyramids and the Sphinx and said, "Oh, look, they're building a new Las Vegas." And then he went to Jordan to present his roadmap to peace. And he's come up with a brilliant idea, which is if people just sat down and did a bit of give and take, everything would be fine, which no one had thought of before.
Israelis would always say to you, "Why Israel? Why do you always criticise Israel?" And my answer is, because you're in the Eurovision Song Contest. If you aspire to European values, you will come under scrutiny. Because they turn up every year, and the poor receptionist has got this embarrassing thing. She's all sitting there with the welcome packs and the badges and everything. And Israel turns up and she says, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't think you're in Europe. Let me just look. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My mistake. Do enjoy the day." Well, what was I to do? He had a tank.
Bush said the native language of the people of Latin America was Latin.
He also said that what needs to happen in the Israel-Palestine conflict is that both sides need to sit down like good Christians.
But he also said to them this week, he said he wanted to ride herd with them, and then afterwards he said, "I'm not sure they understood my language because they haven't watched Bonanza."
George W. Bush embarked on a personal quest for a Middle East peace settlement. Critics are worried because the last time George W. embarked on a personal quest, it took him 3 days to find the pretzels in the presidential larder. Linda, which newspaper had a sting in its tail?
Which newspaper had a sting in its tail?
We know.
So do we.
So do we, thank you, Jeremy. Don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
Don't let that Harley get
No,
in.
no.
The Daily Scorpion.
Just because he's been...
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Linda's about to answer.
Linda, which newspaper had a sting in its tail?
We know.
Well, apparently Jeremy knows, but as it's not Jeremy's question, it's rather academic, isn't it? Is this Beckham thing? Isn't
Yes,
it? The
oh, thank God
kidnap
we've got
thing.
that.
That that it's the trials collapsed mainly because it was all made up. And the whole story was that there was this plot to kidnap Victoria Beckham. It all rang a bit false because they sent a ransom note to a record company and there's no way they were coughing up, but and they tried to sort of lure her into a trap with a series of ever larger Louis Vuitton handbags. And eventually she'd just be trapped in a big shop and forced to eat luggage to survive. So it was all not true.
They were going to keep her in a flat in South London. I mean, you'd want more... I mean, how much were they asking? 5 million?
5 million.
To spend more than a couple of days in a small council flat in South London with Victoria Beckham, you would need more than 5 million, wouldn't you?
I want to comment when they said the police explained to the Beckhams what had actually happened.
A series of charts and flashcards.
Since this programme's been made, David and Victoria are able to go into shops on their own.
It's the collapse of the Beckham kidnapping case following admissions by the prosecution that the dramatic News of the World sting was a put-up job. At the time of the report, the News of the World claimed it had stopped the crime of the century, a claim completely proved false by the continued existence of David Dickinson. Francis, up.
It's Labour's rather brilliant new idea for reducing the NHS budget, I think. They're going to have this thing whereby the health service won't treat anyone who's unhealthy. But that's it. If you smoke or drink or don't eat 5 fruit and vegetables a day, and especially I think if you're overweight, then you're in big trouble and GPs won't touch you.
Well, they just make the doors bigger.
Are we going for our fat people complaints on feedback again?
It just dawned on me that about 2 weeks ago we had a question about obesity and there was a complaint, I think, so we have to tread carefully here.
Let's just cut out the middleman. Let's complain to feedback ourselves. What's the redress?
Where do people go to complain about feedback? There's not a programme, is there?
You go to you and yours.
I bought this shirt thinking it was a pair of trousers.
Government's considering plans to force smokers and the overweight to sign contracts promising to give up smoking or start dieting in return for treatment. It's not as if we're asking patients to sign away their souls, said Department of Health spokesman B.L. Zebub. Officials stress the government aren't asking people to do anything they haven't done themselves. Mr. Blair finally gave up the evil weed in 2001 when he finally sacked Peter Mandelson. We start round 2 with an item from the Wildlife Trust's News and Events Guide.
July the 27th, discover the magic of rare peatland habitats. Spend a day on the bog.
Thanks to Trevor Wells of Horringer for sending that in. Jeremy, whose crowning achievement was, need I say more?
Ah, your woman, the Queen there. Now, I was sitting in a hotel in Kilkenny on Monday, watching wall-to-wall coverage on Sky, and also CNN. And CNN's weird because every presenter has a slightly different accent. It's like sort of Star Trek. And then they've got this weird man on CNN who speaks as if his gullet is swelling with regurgitated lentils. He goes, and he's actually said the Queen has been on the crown for 50 years. And I thought, that does explain that bewildered expression that she has.
She had a children's party as well,
Yeah,
didn't
she did. They weren't her kids, though.
No.
Anybody else wouldn't have got away with that, would they? You know what I mean? I can have a load of kids over to the house, you just think, uh-oh. But she gets away with it.
I think she just wanted to be surrounded that day by people too young to remember Diana.
Well, that's
Not ask embarrassing questions. What do you mean,
A relative of mine in the line of work has got to meet a member of the royal family, Princess Anne, to be precise, and they've been sent a big list of things that they must and mustn't do, you know, in her presence or, things to say. And the first one is that Princess Anne must be addressed not as ma'am, but as ma'am. Brackets, rhymes with ham.
You have to say all of that.
And you must going to say, where's your old man tonight then, eh?
The week saw the 50th anniversary celebrations of the Queen's coronation. Celebrations gave us prominent role to coronation babies. That's people born on the day of the coronation and not a new twist on coronation chicken. Armando, listen to this.
Not sure that really added anything.
That was the theme tune to Black Beauty.
It was.
3 points.
Right, next question.
Who's been putting the stallion in Italian?
Well, I have to defend my country's honour here. There are rumours that some salamis may have horse meat in them.
Aren't these rumours started by scientists who've analysed this salami?
Yes, but these weren't Italian scientists. Apparently, most salamis are fine. There are 1 or 2 salamis that have horse meat in them, and you can detect them because they are 5 feet in diameter, 7 feet long, and they have 4 other salamis. 2 from the front, 2 in the back, and a horse's head on them. They're basically horses in a vest. But there is nothing wrong with having horse meat in, if that's the bag you're into. It would be worse if there was jockey meat in salami. If you found bits of Leicester Piggott in, German sausages and John McKirrick in a pasty, That's when you start, the Queen Mother in pita bread. That's when you start launching an inquiry. But since that hasn't happened, I don't see what all the fuss is about. It's only a horse.
So you're a vegetarian?
It's not all Italian manufacturers. There's a few bad eggs and rotten apples, which are the ingredients of pork pies.
Government is to launch an investigation into salami, chorizo and other exotic sausages after an investigation discovered 1 in 8 contained horse and donkey meat.
It's good odds.
3 types of salami were tested: plain, peppered and sugar. Eating horse and donkey is not against the law, though muffin the mule is still illegal in 37 states. Linda, which city is more made up than Ken Dodd's tax returns?
Yes, it's Liverpool, which is going to be the City of Culture in 2008, I believe. I bet Oxford's really annoyed. Probably thought, we're going to walk this, aren't we? Newcastle, Gateshead, Liverpool, and then Liverpool wins. Oxford must be just going, this is an outrage, of course it should be me. It's their crime rate that's done against them. It's Inspector Morse, that documentary. And right next to them is the Cotswolds Midsummer Murders. Until they sort out that terrible crime problem, no chance. I think it's quite good, Liverpool being it. It's a city where everyone's funny, except the comedians.
But they're jolly good at pop music, because that Eurovision entry showed.
That was the Mersey sound, which was just the sound of the Mersey, wasn't it, the Eurovision entry? Which is what happens when you put a lot of prams in water. It sounds like that.
Simon, you're not about to read out some jokes about Liverpool being full of thieves, are you?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Got my letter to feedback ready?
Dear feedback, we know where you live.
I was just saying, listeners in Liverpool will be writing letters now. Those that haven't had their radios stolen.
Liverpudlians are celebrating their city's new status as European Capital of Culture 2008. Which is terrific news because it gives Liverpool 5 whole years to acquire some culture. Liverpool beat 5 other cities to the title, but only after stealing the tyres from the judge's car.
I come from Glasgow, which was the last British city of culture in 1990, and it closed with a closing ceremony that involved a fireworks display. And the organisers decided it would be good to have it early on in the evening so that children could attend. So it was in daylight. And no one could see it.
Francis, why should you be excited about birds with teeth?
Yes, French scientists.
He's still young enough for birds with teeth, Francis. If there's any frisky widows in the audience. I do ones without teeth have their uses, don't they, Frankie? You know what I mean? Carry on.
Some of them are false, but it doesn't matter as long as they're in. It's all right. Yeah, it is French scientists, isn't it? That's what they do. They've bred a chicken with a mouse and produced a bird which has teeth and a little tail.
Why?
Which is jolly useful. Well, because I think it's something to do with curing baldness, rather strangely. Birds used to have teeth 70 million years ago, and now they've got the mouse genes in there. The birds have rediscovered their teeth, and this shows that you can have a sort of genetic memory, and you can wake up these genes and get them going again, so we could turn back into early Neanderthal creatures if only we made the effort. And if you bung the right genes, if you do a genetic implant of a polar bear or something into a bald man, he then turns into Boris Johnson.
If they can grow anything, why can't they just grow a scientist who knows how to cure baldness?
Or just grow hair.
I like the idea of the chickens with teeth, though. That could give the old battery farmers a few scary moments. Walking in amongst them. Yeah, come on, debeak us. Come on. I'll take you all on.
A team of Anglo-French scientists have created a bird with teeth that may provide a cure for baldness and new dental treatments. These are thought to be the first birds with really weird teeth since Esther Rantzen. Before we start the final round, here's an extract from a local county council's website.
Plasterer urgently required to cover Bradford-on-Avon.
Thanks to Paula Daly for that. Why is it more a case of power to the pobble this week?
Is pobble Welsh for people? Because it's phobble in Irish. It's interesting because it's the same derivation, Celtic language. I'm sorry, am I boring you? There's a village in Wales that's had no electric ever, and they finally got it. But they've had generators, and you thought, this is going to be charming. It's all about how they had to microwave their pasties by dashing them against rocks and things. And they've got more flipping electrical appliances than most people in the country. And they're all saying, well, it was terrible because when we used the hairdryer, we couldn't use the flight simulator at the same time. They've been perfectly all right. They've had generators, they've had gas, they've had candles, they've had...
The internet.
They've got everything they need, but it's just they're just not connected to the national grid.
How'd they run that then? It's not solar power in Wales, I know that.
It's rain and misery power. It's all grudge driven. It's all powered by misplaced sense of colonial oppression, which is quite historically erroneous because Wales was never colonised and oppressed in the way that Ireland was, but nonetheless they have reinvented themselves as an oppressed people, despite the fact that they have been entirely complicit in British imperialism, as have the Scots. Sorry,
I'm just thinking of the Celtic fringe feedback that's...
12 homes in the mid-Wales community of Cumbrefi have been brought into the 21st century with the installation of mains electricity. Local residents were connected to the national grid on Tuesday, and after an apology from the Welsh Electricity Board, they were disconnected from the grid and the cables were attached to their homes instead. Linda, which flipping ship of fools needed rescuing this week?
Yes, this is these two rowers who set off from Australia to row across the Indian Ocean in a rowing boat. That's a rowing boat, such as you get on a boating lake. Across the Indian Ocean. Which I suppose they thought, Indian Ocean, that sounds warm, that'll be fine. 25-foot waves. They're in a rowing boat. They ate their sandwiches just after they left Australia. They're wearing shorts. There are 25-foot waves. And they have to be rescued. Now, would that be by another rowing boat? No, by the entire Australian Navy. They should have left them there.
They set off these people with nothing more than some Kendall mint cake and some flip-flops, didn't they? And they say, well, it's all for charity. And you think, no, it's not. It's for your thwarted ego. Because you went round the neighbours and said, I'm trying to raise money for arthritis. They wouldn't say, well, you can go and row across the Australian Ocean, mate. Before I give you any money for those twisted bastards, I want to see you drown in the sea.
Dear me. And they said the rescue went ever so well. Yes, because they're not idiots like you.
I used to row at school on the River Clyde. And we'd get down on a blistery, cold Saturday morning, and we'd set off, and we'd go round the bend, and we'd just quickly dock at the next boathouse and go in and watch Tiswas for an hour. And our teachers knew nothing about it.
British rowers Mike Noel-Smith and Rob Abernethy had to be rescued this week from the Indian Ocean by an Australian Navy frigate after Mike was injured in a storm. Rob described the ferocity of the storm in an email. Happily, Mike was wearing a harness, or he would not be lying next to me now. And Summers would like us to stress that their products should only be used under strictly controlled conditions. Francis, who was flightless and fancy-free this week?
Is it the rear?
Yes, it is.
It's one of those birds like an ostrich or an emu. But a couple in Norfolk kept this thing as a pet, as people in Norfolk do. And the rear was desperate to get away, as rears in Norfolk are. They spent 28 hours chasing it around the fields and calling in helicopter gunships and SWAT teams and things. And they caught it after a mere 28 hours, and they've herded it back into its pen, poor little thing.
This week, an escaped pet rare roamed the Norfolk countryside for 28 hours before finally being recaptured by its owners. The hunt for the rare was stepped up after Michael Parkinson was seen striding through the countryside with a shotgun, shouting, "Rod Hull can't save you. Come to Daddy." Before we reveal the final scores, let's hear the cuttings the teams have brought along. Jeremy.
Bit of paper sent in by Jim McCormick from Belfast, and it's a cutting from the Belfast Telegraph, which is the paramilitary wing of the Daily Telegraph. And it says, an Ulster GP hit a psychiatric patient with a frying pan and a wine bottle and said that shooting such people was a good idea because psychiatrists don't mess around in Belfast. There's none of that, how did you get on with your father nonsense there. It's just shooting people is a good idea. Get off my couch and get out now. That'll be £20 if you know what's good for you.
Amanda.
This actually is from the Irish Independent. Battle Mountain, a Nevada town that was named Armpit of America by the Washington Post, is to host its own Armpit Festival in August. Sponsored by Old Spice deodorant, the festival will include an armpit beauty pageant, a sweat t-shirt contest, and a quick draw antiperspirant competition. The Post chose Battle Mountain for its, quote, lack of character and charm, its pathetic assemblage of ghastly buildings, and its nasty people.
Linda.
This cutting was sent in by Pamela Gorham from the Lancaster Guardian, and it's a correction to the previous week's recipe. Chris Dixon's actual recipe should have read half a teaspoonful of baking powder and half a pint of water, not 1 tablespoon of baking powder and 1 pint of water, as printed. Apologies to readers who followed last week's recipe for sticky toffee pudding and had their puddings explode.
Francis.
Simon, this is from Railway magazine. 4 anti-war protesters who planned to ambush a Glasgow to London train decided against the plan after discovering that the train was full of Celtic fans.
Thank you all. Let's look at the final scores now. Jeremy and Amanda have lots and lots of points, and so have Linda and Francis. And before we leave you, here's a classified ad from the Wiltshire Evening Advertiser.
Wanted, original 1982 Jane Fonda workout video, the one where she's lying on her back with her legs in the air.
Goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz were Jeremy Hardy, Amanda Unici, Linda Smith and Francis Ween. The chairman was Simon Hoggett, and the news was read by me, Brian Perkins. The chairman's script was written by George Poles, Lucy Clark and Simon Littlefield. The chairman's otter was tickled by Marika Good, and the producer was Simon Nichols.
We present the News Quiz with your chairman, Simon Hoggett.
Hello and welcome to the News Quiz. We start with an advert in the window of a local Gosport butcher's shop, read by Harriet Cass.
Exotic game and meat evening. Introductory offers on ostrich, kangaroo, wild duck, venison, pheasant and quail. And for the kids, we have Steve-O the Magic Clown.
Thanks to Steve Tracy for spotting that. Let's meet the teams. Please welcome first, on my right, Andy Hamilton and newcomer, comedian Andy Parsons. Opposite them on my left, Alan Corran and Jeremy Hardy. Andy Hamilton, the traditional easy story for you. Why are the latest pension proposals another case of the old story?
Yeah, well, this is the Turner report, and apparently everyone's going to have to work till they're 70, which will be a bit of a problem for the lap dancing industry, I think. But the Turner report has come out, and basically it's taken 3 years, and Gordon Brown's handed it back and said that's rubbish. Because basically Turner is proposing that we retire later, but then get a more generous pension, and Gordon Brown thinks that we shouldn't get a more generous pension and that it should be awarded to us posthumously.
I'm horrified to hear you mocking the contribution of the lap community to the dance of this country. Santa's elves have made a big difference. Part of our nation's diversity. I've made provision...
And the Vatican this week got rid of limbo, you saw.
Yeah,
the whole area of Jamaicans thrown out of work, whatever age they are.
Limbo sounds good. Apparently, if you're unbaptised, if you're a Catholic, if you've not been baptised, you go to limbo, which sounds quite jolly, doesn't it? Sounds like, but it's not. It's a state of nothingness between heaven and hell, where souls just hover listening to Dido.
But is there
I've made provision for my old age. I've decided that I do want to be a burden to people. Very much so, because people have been a pain in the backside to me all my life, and I want that backside wiped by them in my twilight.
I think I should come in here and say something about pensions as the younger member of the thing.
How old are you, Andy Parsons?
Slightly younger than you. I don't want to go into the details, obviously.
Has your bath got a door in the side?
It's the latest report on pension reform, recommending increased pensions at a price of working into your late 60s. It's been painstakingly put together over several years by a team led by former CBI Director Lord Turner and put to sleep in 2 seconds by a team led by Gordon Brown. The proposals do nothing to sort out the difficulties faced by women in relation to the state pension. For the average young woman today, the best advice for obtaining a secure financial future is still to marry a millionaire with a heart condition. Andy Parsons, welcome to the News Quiz.
Thank you very much.
Who's been very cagey about the withdrawal method this week?
I think this might be Mr. George W.
It is.
Who basically produced a 35-page document entitled, I think, National Strategy for Victory in Iraq, which apparently came as a surprise to him because he thought he'd won back in 2003. He has said he's very pleased with the fledgling democracy in Iraq, along with Tony Blair. There were apparently a few places that they confessed weren't able to vote due to the security situation. Such pockets included Baghdad, Tikrit, Mosul and Fallujah. Now, I don't know about you, but that was everywhere that I'd heard of in Iraq.
They are handing over now, the Americans. Already the Iraqi army has taken over much of the torture that the Americans used to do, so that's good.
Is that a franchise, do you think?
It's going to be everywhere before Christmas.
George Bush has outlined America's plan for withdrawing troops from Iraq with a 35-page document entitled National Strategy for Victory in Iraq. Bush insisted the government would settle for nothing less than a complete victory in Iraq, which should happen just as soon as Jeb Bush becomes Chief Returning Officer for Baghdad. And this is perfectly true. The Pentagon has been paying, it turns out, Iraqi newspapers to print good news stories. The scam came to light after a Baghdad Times profile of Edith Morley, aged 73, of Truro, who won second prize for her delicious gooseberry jam. 2 points all round. Jeremy, why is Britain's current status going to become cooler?
I don't understand this properly. It's to do with global warming is making Britain cold. How unfair is that? It's like we're getting colder because the ice things are melting. Have you seen March of the Penguins? That is so cool. But except they shouldn't have got Morgan Freeman. It should be someone like Barry White or I don't know. And then penguins, they want some loving on the app. No, it's the cold bits, at the top and the bottom of the world are the frozen bits. Because of global warming, they're melting, which is better with me.
No, it isn't that.
No, it isn't.
It's current.
Dad?
He used the word current.
Yeah, but hold on.
You know what he's driving at. You know, Simon. You've been working for Simon all these years.
Father, will
You've got
you
to get to the current. You haven't mentioned Gulfstream. These are the significant things.
Well, I don't understand why the Gulfstream isn't in the Gulf.
I hate it when people abuse meteorology.
You can listen to a repeat of Science Today.
Shut up, we're talking. Oi, Specky, we're having fun. You've got all night to read that. You can take it home with you and read it on your own. We're enjoying us. We're trying to solve in a scientific, empirical way why it is that the sea is full of jobbies.
But this whole idea of Britain getting colder is very worrying. I was thinking the problem with British sport is often the weather. We're not necessarily so good at the summer sports, because we never get quite enough sunshine, and we're not so good at the winter sports necessarily, because we never get quite enough snow. We need to find sports where the optimum climate is a bit of drizzle. Something like bringing in the washing.
Gulf Stream currents that warm Britain have weakened dramatically, according to findings from the National Oceanography Research Centre in Southampton, meaning we could soon have temperatures as cold as Canada and like them become God's frozen people. If research about the temperature is correct, Britain could lose 1 degree over the next 20 years. And my vote is for media studies. Findings show that Europe's central heating system is breaking down. An engineer will soon be able to see Europe in a couple of months before rubbing his chin and saying, "What carboy put this in 19 languages.
Was that an accent you just did, Simon?
No, it wasn't. Shut up. 2 points to Jeremy.
Simon Hoggart, the man of a voice.
I closed my eyes and Dick Van Dyke was in the room.
Alan, listen to this. Alan, why have Navy Larks initiated an inquiry?
Well, it's a bit of a broad extension, but the Marines do fall under the Navy, although they have a general. They have the only general of Marines. I rather like those pixelated pictures, because there couldn't have been a man watching who didn't try to measure the length of the little squares to see how well equipped our Marines were.
They said it was just a barbecue that had got out of hand, and I thought, I've been out of hand at a barbecue. I've had one too many, maybe dropped a sausage in the coal, got a bit carried away with the lighter fluid, or ruined the conversation by saying something like, could we stop talking about property now, because it has been 4 hours. Apart from that one barbecue where Oliver Reed and Alan Bates turned up, never have I seen naked men wrestling on any patio under my jurisdiction.
The Royal Marines, they said that they have a zero tolerance towards bullying in the Royal Marines, and anybody caught bullying will be severely punished. I was wondering exactly how will they be severely punished?
Be dressed as Julie Andrews and sodomised with a loofah.
We shouldn't
make men of them.
We shouldn't be hypocritical about it, because let's face it, in most male-dominated institutions, there have always been bullying rituals, like, you know, Coopers used to roll apprentices in a barrel. And I remember when I started on this show, no, Seriously, in I think it was in the 80s, Alan and Richard Ingram stripped me naked and beat me with copies of Punch. I remember.
This is a secretly filmed video of 2 Royal Marines wearing nothing but rubber mats on their arms, fighting each other in a brutal initiation ceremony. The Conservative Party spokesman for Homeland Security, Patrick Mercer, himself a former officer, admitted he had witnessed a naked beating once before. But that was during Mrs Thatcher's 84 cabinet reshuffle. Everybody at the end of round 1 has 4 points. And we start round 2 with a news item from the Hockweld Village magazine.
Robert Smith has asked me to draw your attention to the raffle tickets on sale in aid of the Unmarried Mothers Society, for whom he is directly responsible.
Thanks to Jean Dury for spotting that. Andy Parsons, which peer has been accused of pooping his old party?
Ah, well, I think this is Mr. Geoffrey Archer, who is, I believe, trying to rejoin the Conservative Party.
He also said that if he can't get back into politics, he's just going to step up his writing. So I think we really want him to get back into politics. I can remember the first time I ever read a line written by Geoffrey Archer, and this woman character was saying, she said, "For one of the most promising young QCs in the country, you're terribly shy with women." And I fell off the toilet, I tell you.
It's the man who's made more comebacks than status quo, the liar, fraud and alleged novelist Geoffrey Archer, who's thrown the Tories into confusion by attempting to rejoin their party. High opinion of the Home Secretary.
There's a guideline on how to tell if somebody is dealing drugs. The amount of drugs on the person should be a signal as to whether they are selling or not. I live in South London. The best way of knowing whether somebody is selling drugs is whether they are selling drugs. In fact, I want to do some guerrilla theatre where I get a skunk in a cage and stand outside the Ritzy Cinema in Brixton, and as people walk past saying, "Skunk." It's a guideline on how much a person can be carrying before they are a dealer. Whether it's got price labels on it, whether they've got a swipe machine.
A loyalty card.
Apparently the current trend amongst young people is to have an upper followed by a downer straight away just to take the edge off it. That would be like having a Red Bull and then having a Horlicks straight away afterwards.
Is there such a thing as a middler? Because I'd quite like one of those. I think anything that will, actively not really change my state of mind.
It's just so innocent about drugs. I mean, Andy actually still believes uppers and downers are things that blokes on the streets sell. The blokes on my street.
Hello, Governor. Yeah. Would you like some illegal narcotics? Well, do you know, I hadn't thought of it, but you seem a very persuasive salesman. I think I might venture into this nether world of addiction.
Well, I used to live just next to All Saints Road, and what I remember about the drug pushers there was they would approach you and say, do you want a score or whatever, and when you said no, they'd say, do you want some help carrying your shopping?
Under new Home Office proposals, anyone caught carrying up to 500 cannabis joints will be able to claim it's for their personal use. 4 ounces of cannabis resin can produce 500 light joints, 250 strong joints, or roughly 6 dozen delicious hash brownies for the Whitney Women's Institute Christmas Fair. 2 points to Jeremy Allen, who's been accused of robbing the poor to give to the rich.
This is Blair giving up our rebate because of the Estonians and
Somewhat
the Latvians
foreign.
and those strange people that produce nothing.
Stop pretending to be right-wing, you old trot. You've carved out a niche for yourself.
I didn't understand that thing about Robin, not understanding Robin Hood, which is the only thing I know about.
Somebody with a foreign
roundabout
name.
on the A3 as you go through Guildford.
Someone
What else was it? Wasn't that Kevin Costner and Errol Flynn desperate to get into tights? A lot of people were desperate to get into Errol Flynn's tights. Great thing about his autobiography is that he actually slept with Clark Gable.
Did he?
And can we watch Gone with the Wind now without thinking of Clark Gable running up the staircase, holding Errol Flynn? And their 2 moustaches enmeshing at the top. Really, it seemed to be a long way from Estonia, but there is some deal being done with the the common agricultural policy as well, but the French won't allow it to be interfered with.
Chirac is still in a mood, isn't he, about the French voting no for the EU constitution, which he was hoping would be a yes. And of course now, because of that, we're not actually going to get a vote on the EU constitution. You'd have thought that New Labour would have given us a vote on the constitution. Nothing you'd have thought would have helped a British yes vote than the French voting no. People in Britain going, what, the French have voted no, I must have another look at this constitution. It must have some merit of which I was completely unaware.
Tony Blair has been accused of acting like a modern-day sheriff of Nottingham by the President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso, as he embarked on a diplomatic tour to persuade the poorest countries in the EU to accept less funding so that Britain can keep its rebate. Tony Blair hopes he can still broker a deal that will maintain the status quo. Britain will keep its rebate, and a tone-deaf, cross-dressing Latvian will win Eurovision. At the end of round 2, everybody has 8 points. And before we start round 3, here's an offer from the Harrow leader.
Massive warehouse stock clearance sale. Quality furniture, including fine collectible grandfather cocks. All 40% off.
Thanks to B. Jackson for that. Andy Hamilton, who's been showing off the new face of surgical science.
You know what? I'm fed up with the fact that I get all the medical stories. This is, you can just picture them in the production office. Give it to the hypochondriac. Go on, go on. This is an advance in medicine that in France, was it? A lady who had quite severe facial injuries, they've grafted a new face onto her, sort of, I think it's mouth and nose. And on the news, this prompted a rather vulgar outburst of cheap graphics, where they said, here is a photograph of the doctor, and here is a photograph of his assistant. But if he were to incur terrible facial injuries, they could graft it, and they did this thing of sliding the face across, and you thought, I'm sure it's more complicated than that.
A team of French surgeons, led by Professor Jean-Michel Dubénard and Professor Bernard de Vauchel, have carried out the world's first face transplant at the Amiens Hospital in northern France. The UK won't be left behind. A team of British facial surgeons is already on 24-hour standby, waiting for Anne Robinson to try that wink of hers one time too many.
I think it's to do with us all having bigger bottoms now, and the idea that the average needle isn't quite big enough to penetrate. Some people in the audience appear to be ahead of me here. And so they're going to have longer needles now. So if you are nervous of needles, eat less pies. That's basically...
Fewer pies. This is Radio 4 after all.
People's bottoms are becoming so big that injections aren't reaching the muscles, according to a new study by the Radiological Society of North America. If this continues, there will be only 2 solutions: longer needles or direct injection into cheeseburgers. Jeremy, why is there nothing new about men today?
Apparently, in the 1950s, people spent more time with their children, even though they'd all been recently killed in the war.
Problem is that the merchant bankers
Is that rhyming?
are bringing in prostitutes from Latvia and forcing them to work as nannies once they've got here. It isn't an easy life.
Actually, when you're short of childcare, prostitutes are your best bet, because they're on every corner in Streatham.
I'm just thinking of wonderful publicity we're going to get when they publish a story. Jeremy Hardy urges that child rearing should be done by prostitutes.
A new survey has revealed the idea of the new man who takes equal responsibility for his children is in fact a myth. Michael Jackson is quite literally the only entirely new man in the world, but he's not allowed anywhere near children. Alan, who didn't need to brush up their chat-up lines?
I really don't know, Simon. Brush up their chat.
Brush up, yes. Think of
What?
paintbrush. Did you know it?
Well, I do, because it was rubbish, the story, and I got very angry about it.
This is not about Picasso being randy.
Yes.
Well, why didn't you say so?
The way the game works is I ask the questions.
It wasn't just artists, it was pianists
Can
as
you
well.
call the police? This is turning into a domestic. But it was also science. It was supposedly, they interviewed loads of artists. Yeah, and they said, They said, are you sexually very active? Do you have lots of partners? And the artists and the writers and people said, yes, I do. Isn't that funny? That's because I'm a creative genius. The whole point about creative people is they make stuff up. That is why they are creative. So you don't, but you know, you might just as well believe Jeffrey Archer's statistics on how many men. And Picasso, I never believed that he pulled lots of women, because what did he say to them? He said, you know, come and be a model and I'll paint you. And the woman's going to think, oh yeah, I'm going to have a triangular nose and 4 eyes. No, thank you.
But he'd probably give her one right in the cello, wouldn't he?
New research this week shows that creative people have on average twice as many sexual partners as the rest of the population. The number of sexual partners increases with the seriousness with which they pursue their art, which is why Rolf Harris may still be a virgin.
I was thinking of a woman sitting on Rolf Harris's lap and he's saying, can you guess what it is yet? Just crossed my mind the way these things do.
At the end of round 3, the scores have changed dramatically. Alan and Jeremy have 12 points, but Andy and Andy have leapt dramatically into the lead with 13 points. And before we begin the final round, here's an exciting new product in the Clean Easy catalogue.
Coal paint. Restore the colour of your coals with this matte black paint to leave your fire looking like new. Rejuvenates faded gas coals. Warning, extremely flammable.
Our thanks to Mark Chapman for spotting that. Jeremy, who's tired of pork pies being told about their food?
This is yet another story about towns giving their name to a thing, and then other towns making the thing and using it. Melton Mowbray pork pies come from Melton Mowbray. I don't think it's even a town that exists in the popular imagination like Champagne or Cheddar or Leicester or Caerphilly or Pot Noodle. But I've been to Melton Mowbray and you think something's going to happen. You think, this is going to be pork pie heaven. You think, I'll get off the plane and the mayor will just put a pork pie around my head and the streets will be made of pork pie. But apparently there's a big difference between Melton Mowbray pork pies and other pork pies, because other pork pies, the pork is cured, whereas in Melton Mowbray pork pies, it still has swine vesicular disease. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, Alan. I am a comedian. But,
I wonder whether that...
It just takes me a long time because of me stroke. But anyways, Melton Mowbray wants to copyright the name Melton Mowbray. Doesn't do it for me.
One of the things they were selling it on was that the typical Melton Mowbray pie has got bowed sides and the meat is grey. And you're thinking, is that hardly a selling point? A wonky pie that looks off is hardly something you want, is it? It wasn't just Melton Mowbray who want to keep the pies. Apparently pies made in Nottingham, Leicester and Northampton, they also want to be called Melton Mowbray pies. Now you think, well, they're not made in Melton Mowbray. You know, it should be Pie Method Melton Mowbray.
The Melton Mowbray Pork Pie Association has asked the European Commission to protect it from unscrupulous manufacturers of pork pies who are not from the Melton Mowbray area. Local pie makers want their product to have the same regional foods protection enjoyed by Champagne and retain the right to offer still or sparkling pies. Alan, your last question. Which old, bold flyer got the bird this week?
It's not the vulture in the wind tunnel.
It is.
That finds itself unable to fly. This has happened in England. This vulture apparently can't learn to fly in England, probably because the dead aren't left outside for it to eat. Must be a bugger if you want lunch and it's got brass handles on it.
Imagine vultures these days. Oh, it's just packaging. It's ridiculous.
I'll tell you one thing about vultures. There's nothing a vulture hates more than a glass eye. So this vulture has now been taken to a wind tunnel, being told how to fly by someone who speaks fluent vulture. And eventually it'll come out of the wind tunnel like a bullet out of a gun and eat dead people.
I've seen a condor, which is a kind of vulture, being taught how to fly. There's a fantastic place down at near Andover called the Hawk Conservancy. And they had a condor called George, who they'd raised in captivity. And he didn't know how to fly. And the problem for condors is that they can't just take off, because the way they fly is they jump off the side of mountains and then they glide extraordinary distances. And we used to go back there year after year, and they were trying to teach George to fly, and they built a very large sort of ramp for him. So you would go along and you would actually see keepers running along the ramp, flapping their arms with George the Condor sort of watching them rather bemused.
I'm feeling sorry for the keeper because they're running up doing that flapping, and then they get to the edge, and presumably the Condor, he runs up and gets to the edge and goes, yeah, you know. I'm sorry for the keeper who's got to chuck himself off to show the Condor exactly what the next step is.
Have you ever I've had vultures circling over me as well, which is also an unsettling experience. I was in Africa and we broke down, and to get the vehicle to move, we had to go and our guide said, we'll go and find some dried elephant dung, which will work as a kind of matting, and put it under the wheels, and then maybe we'll get enough purchase to get out. And it's quite hot work. I don't know if you've ever
all the time.
Dried elephant dung in the heat of the African sun. And anyway, so there we were, sort of sticking it under the wheels. And when I looked up, there were 4 vultures circling over me. And I just thought, oh, thanks a bunch.
I've had that experience when you're on a stretch of rail track maintained by Balfour Beatty.
It's Gollum, the world's most idle vulture, whose owner, Steve Eales, had to take him to the 150-mile-an-hour Air Kicks wind tunnel in Milton Keynes to try to get him to fly. Within minutes of being brought to the wind tunnel, Gollum was soon frantically flapping his wings in a bid to fly for the very first time. Absolutely anything to get out of Milton Keynes. For 3 years, Gollum has simply sat around doing almost nothing at all. Yes, signing up for that media studies course was the best thing he ever did. Now, let's look at the final scores. Alan and Jeremy have 16 points, but the 2 Andys clung to their lead and are this week's winners with 17 points. And before we leave you, here's an interesting event recorded in the Wealden Advertiser.
Centre for Riding Excellence. Fun and games on Saturday the 19th of November. Gymkhanas and bottom hole jumping.
With that, goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz were Andy Hamilton, Andy Parsons, Jeremy Hardy and Alan Corran. The chairman was Simon Hoggart, and the news was read by me, Harriet Cass. The chairman's script was written by George Poles, Simon Littlefield, Paul Carenza and Roderick Crooks, and the producer was Adam Bromley.
Hello, I'm Sandy Toksvig, and you join me backstage in the News Quiz production office. Well, actually, we're in the stationery cupboard because everywhere else was too noisy. Let me just open the door, and you can hear.
Do it again, it's still not funny.
Yeah. So, anyway, welcome to this week's News Quiz Extra. Here on Radio 4 Extra, because it's, extra, we like to give you a bit extra. It's like something on the side, like another scoop of ice cream or an affair. Basically, it's that little bit more that you didn't ask for. We are, if you like, the radio version of Nick Clegg. Coming up, we've got a look behind the scenes of the show, which, won't take long because it's not a big place. I'll be having a chat with Jack D, and Jeremy Hardy will be joining me to have a look back at the show in years gone by. Now, as the news quiz is only half an hour long, each week we have to edit bits out. Sometimes, we haven't got time for them, or quite often it's just, well, it's simply filthy. So, first up, here's a bit that you won't have heard on this week's episode. Fred, who has had enough of youngsters getting wired and emotional?
It's you lot in England. There's a wee place in Hampshire, I believe, called Whitchurch, which in Scotland is a question. In fact, in Belfast is a leading question. They've been getting off their faces on fizzy drinks, and they've come up with this genius idea of stopping them by refusing to sell them fizzy drinks on a Friday. And the kids are so thick that they're going to, well, that's us. They're knackered, yeah. Have you thought about buying it on a Thursday? Don't be ludicrous. They'll go off. The drinks have got caffeine in them, and, it's a slippery slope. I, as a youngster, had a terrible period of my life where we used to get off our faces on tea, rampaging around the streets of Scotland.
I'd never let my children drink those energy drinks. I mean, I can't imagine how that would react with the sedatives.
Well, this place, Whitchurch, is in Hampshire. It's very close to where I grew up. And frankly, if you can stay awake long enough to drink a whole can of Coca-Cola, you deserve it. And you'd probably be diagnosed as hyperactive anyway.
This is only going to drive caffeine underground, isn't it?
Wait, you mentioned Buckfast. I mean, that is a wine fortified with caffeine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the caffeine that gets you.
But it's all done very quickly. I mean, it's high-speed vandalism.
I had one thimbleful on this programme once, and I was incapable of speech. Even simple words left me.
I remember listening to that one and thinking, why wasn't I invited on this one?
We are going to do a news quiz one day where everyone has to take a different drug. I'm going to take Ritalin. Susan is going to take heroin. Harriet is going to have chamomile tea. Sandy's going to have amphetamine sulfate. What do you fancy, Fred?
Anything that's going, you know me.
It's just stupid. The most that happens to me when I have too much coffee in the morning is I get frustrated at old ladies in shops. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I commit a killing spree. I just kind of go, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, I need bread, I need pasta.
You turn into a goblin.
Do you know what I do whenever I do much? It's like, hello, hello, hello. Where's the crackers? Turn into be Jimmy Cranky, that's what I turn into.
Police in Whitchurch, Hampshire, have asked shops to stop selling high-caffeine drinks to under-16s on Friday nights after residents complained of hyperactive and rowdy behaviour. One councillor wants police patrols to extend to Saturday nights after seeing at least 6 to 8 children sitting in the square, riding around on bikes and playing football. It certainly sounds like things have got completely out of hand. So that was one of the bits that we couldn't fit into this week's show. Here's another.
But clogs are good as well, because clogs cover, because I've got really bad toenails because I bite my toenails.
Oh, you must be very supple, my dear.
Well, I am.
Please tell me that's not true. It's bad enough I know you watch Jeremy Kyle.
Is Kyle a verb?
It should be.
I sit with my foot in my mouth quite a lot, and what? It's fine. There's other people in this audience.
How do you do that?
No, don't. Can we have that man ejected? The one that said, show us. It wasn't the fact you said it, was the way you said, show us.
Let's really tease the listeners. Go on, lick your bum again.
Did you know that it's not possible to lick your own elbow? Go give it a go, Joe.
Unless you're that bloke in the film who had to cut his own arm off. Just to satisfy yourself, you could give the little elbow a lick before you go and look for help. I had to cut my arm off, but the good news is I licked my elbow.
So can I just finish? I don't want people to think I was just telling you I could bite my own toenails.
I apologise, we lost interest.
It's because...
You've peaked, really, Susan. Once we know that you can do that, there's really nothing else you can do.
I'm hoping to get a Channel 5 programme over it.
You could be a Channel 4 freak documentary, one of those heartwarming, the girl who could bite her own toenail. You know, like they have those programmes, the boy whose penis was a bottom and things like that.
Now, if you've been tuned in for the last half an hour or so, or if you've downloaded the podcast or heard the show on Radio 4, you'll know that this week's esteemed panel consists of Jack Dee, Susan Calman, Fred Macaulay, and of course, can't get rid of him, the ever-present Jeremy Hardy. Before the show, I managed to grab one of this week's panellists in our dressing room. And after I'd finished with Jeremy and washed the blood off my hands, I had a quick chat with Jack Dee. Have you read the papers?
I haven't. I tend to flick through things on the internet. In fact, I read a story today of a boy. He's written off his father's sports car, which is worth £275,000. Thankfully, he and his 19-year-old girlfriend were unhurt. The door of the car was found a mile away.
How did he do
police
it?
have launched an investigation to see whether he was speeding or not.
Do you remember your first appearance on the news quiz?
Yes, I think I do. I remember with Linda Smith and Alan Corran and Jeremy Simon Hogarth was doing it, wasn't it?
Were you nervous?
Yes, I'm usually quite nervous for things like news quiz because you don't know what's going to come at you. You can't write stuff for it. It's not like you can have a list of jokes in front of your head. That's what I hate, is when it comes around to you and then it's listen to this piece of music or something and then you know that you've got to start talking.
Yeah, that's always the scary bit.
About the subject and hopefully get a laugh within a couple of seconds.
But I'm looking after you.
You're looking after me, so it makes me more confident.
You mentioned Linda and Alan, because I had a sort of showbiz love affair with Alan Corran. It's crazy about him. Do you have a favourite that you think, I hope they're on.
I like Francis Wheen, his approach to it is extremely laid back. You almost think he's going to fall asleep, and then he comes up with something very funny. So
I always expect him to just give the answer, and then actually he says something very funny, and it isn't
really good. Yeah,
that's why I love it. It kind of comes at you from the side, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you know, if we didn't have radio shows, we probably wouldn't hear anything from people like that, because apparently we don't have the right attention span to see people like that on telly anymore.
At this point, my producer wants me to tell you that here in the News Quiz office there are piles of newspaper as far as the eye can see. You know, if she wasn't making me record this in the stationery cupboard, where in fact there are mainly envelopes, I would. Obviously we can't cover everything that's in the papers. It's an 8-week series, you'd get a bit bored talking about page 3 and the Nemi cartoon. Here's writer Gareth Gwynn explaining how the team decide which stories to cover in the programme.
What we have to do is pick 12 stories, and ideally stories that don't overlap. That's quite important, because you don't want people talking about one story and then find they've accidentally answered a question that's coming up later in the show. By the end of the Wednesday, we know what half the show is going to be. And on the Thursday morning, we pick the other half. And that's the day that Sandy's with us.
Children are getting taller. How annoying is this?
And wider.
Taller and wider, blocking out the sun.
Well, they're getting closer.
That's what it is.
Cameron condemns councils using red tape to stop street parties for the royal wedding.
Use bunting, it's like everyone else.
Sandy script edits the show. She puts her own script together. We give her ideas and ways we can cover things and little gags, but she's the one who actually decides what's said and how it's said. But what the panellists say, they come up with. We don't give them any help. What we really do is provide the backbone to the whole show, I suppose, the little bit of summing up that she does at the end of the question. We need to make sure that gives the correct answer, but in a funny way, and in a way that's not going to get anyone involved into trouble with the police.
Right, now, they say, you know, that you shouldn't dwell on the past, unless, of course, you're the person putting together the schedule for the TV channel Dave. But here at the News Quiz Extra, we simply don't play by their rules. And earlier today, Jeremy and I sat down to discover which stories made it into the quiz this week in years gone by.
Right, in a shameless Hansi Crondy style thing to break the deadlock, I'll give a bonus point to anyone who can tell me who that was. It is a Hansi Crondy thing, isn't it?
I must say,
they just want money, they won't answer.
For a supply chairman,
Yeah.
it's quite bold to try and start tampering with the basic premise of the game.
Don't say anything, we'll lose a point. He's got that Irving look in his eye.
Someone's got to put their nose ahead.
You could get a point for telling us who that was.
This is a very good point. That was Billy Fury singing Run to My Love in Arms.
All right, ask me the question.
All right. Why is the bedroom the best place to train for the marathon?
I don't know, but Rebecca's just written down sex before marathon.
Yeah.
Makes me think confectioners are getting very demanding these days. Is it to do with the London Snickers?
Yeah, London Marathon, this is what Rebecca
you
knows.
know, don't you?
Well, I think it's a report that, in fact, my father would be very interested in, because he ran the marathon some years ago. And apparently, if you have sex the night before, I really wish I hadn't brought my father into this. Yes, I mentioned my father. If you have sex before running a marathon, the night before running a marathon, apparently it can make you up to 14 minutes faster. However...
Doing what?
If you have... If you have sex during the marathon, then clearly that can add on, you know,
I think
well,
sex
probably
instead
30
of the
seconds or
marathon,
something.
really. Be better, wouldn't it? Sex instead of.
You run a faster marathon if you have sex the night before?
I don't know, don't blame me. Apparently, yes.
Is that if you're itching or something?
It may affect the style of your running, but yeah, no, it does. Apparently it speeds you up. So I'm told.
What is the point of the marathon? If people want to go running, why can't they go running in their own neighbourhood, in their own time? Why do they have to turn up at the same time as everybody else who happens to... They say, oh, I'm doing it for charity. You're not doing it for charity. You're doing it for yourself, because you want people to like you. Because happens that you are capable of running for a very, very long time, which I'm sorry to Rebecca's father, but it's a completely pointless thing to be able to do. It's just not needed to be able to run that far. If you were escaping from somebody, they'd have given up after 2 or 3 miles.
Rebecca, which year was it that your father ran the marathon?
Just a question.
Not last year.
No.
It's a bit bloody unfair, that's the question.
Jeremy, your question. What is your name?
A survey of last year's London Marathon runners showed many believed that sex improved their running performance. The evidence suggests that having sex does make you run faster, especially if your partner comes home to find you at it.
I was thinking you must be a bit noisy in the stables the night before the Grand National.
I didn't know Francis did chairing.
No, Mad Frankie Ween, I think, has chaired on a few occasions. There's been a few odd people who've chaired through history. No, I mean ones who've done brief stints, not old troopers like you, stagers.
But it was good to hear, Jeremy, because I always thought that you only ranted because you'd got old, and you haven't.
No,
ranted forever.
When I was the youngest person who'd ever been on the news quiz, I think, when I first started, and I would have been in my early 30s probably, or mid-30s.
Was that when it was on crystal sets?
Yes, it was the BBC Home Service. They didn't really have comedians in those days. They had mostly journalists, and I was a young turn from the variety circuit.
A Turk?
Yes, a young Turk turn. Francis is quite good in the chair. So, Sandy, shape up.
Yeah, I'm always ready. I've got my P45 ready.
Nobody is irreplaceable.
I know, thank God. Which means I meant to say to you, Jeremy.
They found someone younger and taller.
We found a young Turk.
Ah. Here's Mehmet.
So that's it for this week. If you enjoyed that, you've been listening to News Quiz Extra. And if not, it's been Thought for the Day with Richard Dawkins. Thank you to all my guests. And to conclude, here's a bonus cutting read by the newsreader's newsreader, Lady Charlotte Green.
Advice for marathon runners. A dehydrated runner will end up going nowhere fast. This can be the cumulative effect of drinking too little. A simple way to test if you're drinking enough is to check the colour of your urine. Please do this in private.
The News Quiz Extra was presented by Sandy Toksvig and featured Jeremy Hardy, Jack Dee, Susan Kalman and Fred Macaulay. It was written by John Hunter and the producer was Lindsay Fenner.
We present the News Quiz with your host, Miles Jupp.
News Quiz. We start with a notice seen in Durham Cathedral, read by Alan Smith.
You have permission to use the washing machine in the education centre except after 2:30 p.m. when it's full of children.
Our thanks to Ian Forsyth in Durham for sending that in. Now let's meet the teams. Will you welcome first on my right, Hugo Rifkind and Zoe Lyons. And opposite them on my left, Andrew Maxwell and Simon Evans. Hugo, who's flipped over the channel?
So this is about Sajid Javid and the migrant crisis, which is a strange sort of migrant crisis, Miles, because it doesn't really seem to involve any migrants. But with kind of good old-fashioned British pluck and daring do, we're having one anyway, even though we haven't got the migrants to have it about. What sparked the alarm, it was just before Christmas, was 5 boats were found crossing the channel, with I think a total of 40 people on them. And it is a bit odd calling this a migrant crisis. You might remember that a couple of years ago, the EU generally had a migrant crisis when Germany let in 1 million people, which is roughly enough to fill Birmingham, whereas our own recent migrant crisis involves 1 fewer person. And I checked this, 1 fewer person than the world record for fitting in a single car. Admittedly, they were clowns and they squeezed tighter, but still. It's all about a leadership battle, right? It's Tories jostling for position to show they could succeed Theresa May. So Sajid Javid, he was on holiday. He was on safari in South Africa. The Sun said he was enjoying candlelit dinners in the bush, which sounds rude and a bit painful. But he flew home to take charge, which shows bravery and determination and commitment, although not as much empathy, perhaps, as it would have done if he'd come the whole way on a lilo, perhaps. But no, so now he's back, he's now showing that he's in charge, that he's leadership material, and of course all the other Tories who think of themselves as leadership material are jostling, they're angry, they want to show that they too are leadership material, so...
Do you think it isn't necessarily about a leadership race, or do you think it was just he was not enjoying his holiday and was fairly... I know several times over Christmas when I would love to have left the table to deal with an imaginary migrant.
It was a bit weird the way they kind of drew the link, as if the migrants, these 40 or so migrants, were coming specifically because they knew Sajid Javid was on holiday on safari. It's like, quick, he's watching Pumbaa sing his song Far Up the Zodiac. So yeah, it's a bit strange.
My favourite part of it was watching Javid on the cutter boat. He went out eventually, didn't he, on one of the boats? Just watching him trying not to hurl. It was just, you could see him in his suit just going, oh God, I can't do more of this. He first said that they weren't going to send out more of the cutter ships because it would encourage more immigrants to come along if they know there's more border patrols. And it kind of made me think, well, what's the point of any sort of border patrol then? You just go, passport control, don't put that there, it'll only encourage them.
Yeah, he said it would be a certain magnetism about that. As if magnetism is the sort of single characteristic that we most associate with our border force. Nothing against them personally. I'm sure they do an excellent job in very difficult circumstances, as we all do, blah, blah, blah. Simon, have you taken any pleasure in this story?
No, I think Hugo is probably right that it's mainly about people eager to fill Theresa May's shoes, whether it be with dog poo or human vomit. Personal matter is a matter of detail, but I'm not... traditionally, the response to this sort of thing, when you do get what amounts to a migrant crisis, a few people paddling across the channel on a lilo, and a lot of people say, well, this is the kind of spirit we want. These are the sort of people we want to show a bit of get up and go, a bit of dynamic motivation that they will leave Calais behind and brave the shipping lanes in order to go. But I think, no, I don't think so. These are the sort of people who are willing to incur tremendous personal risk on the basis that the UK is fundamentally and intrinsically superior to France, and that's what has got us into this mess in the first place. I don't know whether it's weird motivation or whether it's just outright lying or dishonesty, but clearly there are some very peculiar travel agents operating in the Calais area who have managed to convince these people that the quality of life available in Britain is so extraordinary. I don't know whether it's the recent activity in Paris with the Gilets jaunes, which has put the wind up, and we just got out of one war zone and we walked into another one. I mean, that's been quite an interesting thing to observe anyway. People in high-vis vests actually doing something. That was quite interesting.
Andrew.
Yeah, but it does seem to be about the next Tory leadership battle, isn't it? Javid, Williamson, Hunt. Ooh, what a tallest dwarf contest of talent that. But nobody knows that nobody wants any of them. The actual people who are members of the Tory party, the people who will get to vote on, they only want Jacob Rees-Mogg. And deep down, that's the only one we want as well. We want a Tory that's going to be the most Tory of all Tory time. I don't like him, but Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's an extraordinary human, isn't he? I actually heard him in an interview not long ago say, Remainers are out of touch. This is coming from a man that looks like he talks dirty in Latin. I live right there. I live right down the very end of Kent, and this is a daily basis for me. Like, that cutter is often outside my house, is along the front.
Are you allowed to be here?
Legally, no. I'm a great swimmer. I think that's where the Iranians have gone wrong. They haven't covered themselves in goose fat and done it for charity.
This is Home Secretary Sajid Javid, who described the number of migrants attempting to cross the English Channel on small boats as a major incident. Sajid Javid's holidays often run into difficulties as, due to the husk of rusty metal and tin where his heart should be, he rarely gets through customs without some form of appalling digital intervention. Javid was accused by his own MPs of demonstrating a lack of leadership, which in the current incarnation of the Tory party is like an owl being accused by the rest of the owls of having a beak. In addition to the obvious dangers of attempting to cross the world's busiest shipping channel, there are fears their limited numbers could make the migrants prime targets for being line-caught by Nigel Farage. 2 points to Hugo. Zoe, who's got no ships left to give?
It's at this point where we're about 3 months away from Brexit Day, or B-Day, as I've started to call it. You think, I wish a story would come along that would really encapsulate how I feel about the whole thing and the way the government has handled everything. And then voila, here it is. This is it's at a time when a lot of people are concerned that if there is a no-deal Brexit, we'll be up the proverbial creek without a paddle. It actually turns out not only will we not have a paddle, but we won't have a boat either. This is Chris Grayling, who has given a £13.8 million contract to a freight company called Seaborne Freight, who, in the event of a no-deal Brexit, will take on some of the freight moving, should it build up on the Kent to Belgium coasts. The only problem is they don't have any boats. It's a freight company without any boats. Not only does it not have any boats, it doesn't have any experience. It also has a port that isn't properly dredged yet. So it's absolutely wonderful. And when you thought this story couldn't get any better, it turned out that the website of the company, Seaborne Freight, when you looked at their terms and conditions, they'd actually copied and pasted it from a takeaway food company. To look at it, and it said you had to check your order / meal on delivery and make sure that you'd given the driver adequate information for him to allow to make the delivery of the food / order. And all of this after Chris Grayling, who, let's be honest, has a look of surprise on his face, like all of us have when we look at Chris Grayling and go, it's like he's also thinking, how am I still here? And we're like, we don't know. We're thinking exactly the same, mate. And he sort of assured the nation by saying, we've done due diligence on this company, we've checked them thoroughly, and we have made sure that they will be able to deliver their service. And you go, they will, Chris, but it'll be a quattro stagione, mate. That's what
It's perfect. We've got a non-existent company with non-existent boats with a non-existent harbour for our non-existent trade deals that we have after Brexit. It's exactly what we need. None of this is really happening. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff, like Grayling was saying, no, we did our due diligence, and I was reading up about the company, and it is run by somebody who used to be in the Royal Navy, so that's good. Unfortunately, he was a submariner. Really? So, I mean, I guess he could have just said we do have the boats, but you can't see them because they're underwater.
It is a perfect farce. You know what I mean? It is just the ultimate perfect classic British farce. I mean, even the name of the company, Seaborne Freight. Sounds like a baddie in a P.G. Woodhouse novel. I said this Seaborne Freight. It's just, I don't understand how, I just always thought, like, the ferry business, you've got to kind of be in it to get into it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to
The only reason that I didn't tender for it was because I don't have any ferries, and I'm assuming naively that this would be some sort of obstacle, and now I see what a fool I've been.
It makes you realise that the people who are charging £10,000 to migrants to get across from North Africa are, in fact, by comparison, really very highly respectable businessmen who are delivering on their promise to a degree that Seaborne Freight have never even begun to dream of.
And own more seagoing vessels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you have to put it into the time context. It is panto season, and essentially Chris Grayling is standing on the white cliffs of Dover shouting, I do believe in ferries, I do.
This is the news that the government has awarded a £13.8 million contract to run ferries in the event of a no-deal Brexit to Seaborne Freight, a firm that has never run a ferry service. Seaborne beat out its rivals for the contract, narrowly winning the competition in which they had to successfully transport a fox, a goose and a bag of grain. What a start to the year for Transport Secretary Chris Grayling. This ferry business, rising train fares, and this might not have crossed his desk yet, but on the way here, the toilets in Lee Delamere's services were an absolute disgrace. If I were you, Chris, I'd double glove. Part of no-deal Brexit preparations is now the catch-all excuse for any otherwise inexplicable behaviour. This is part of no-deal Brexit preparations, yelled Philip Hammond, for instance, to reporters yesterday, as he put the finishing touches to the cocoon he was constructing from a fluid secreted from his salivary gland, and walled himself into the carapace with only some nuts and berries and a copy of City AM. Personally, I love a good ferry, which is to say, none of them. 2 points to 0. Has become captain of Brazil.
Yes. Now, Brazil has just elected a far-right ex-army officer to be the new president. His name is Jair Bolsonaro. And he has, over the years, made statements that he believes the best time in Brazilian history was when it was under the dictatorship of the mid-60s to the mid-80s, when a lot of people disappeared, tortured, thrown in the sea, that sort of thing. He's made lots of racist comments, lots of nasty comments about gay people, women, that sort of thing. And the whole outside world has been surprised. Yeah, the whole world's like, wow, why did Brazil elect this? They call him the Trump of the tropics. Seriously, and everybody in the rest of the world's been really surprised because the rest of the world, all we ever think of Brazil is sexy people. That's the music that you hear in your head. Brazil, yeah, 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 right? In our English-speaking minds, a racist has to sound like, I don't know, I'm a white South African guy in tiny trousers. I can't do any dancing. There's no dancing. Or it's, hillbilly America, I'm going to burn a cross. Ain't no dancing with the music I'll listen to. We cannot get our heads around the idea, right? It's just our Anglophone minds. We can't get our heads around the idea that people could be sexy dancers and absolute bigots. We just can't imagine. I'm dancing, sexy dancing. You're not welcome. I don't like the shape of your face. You know, we just can't imagine it. But that's what's happened.
Who was at his inauguration?
Not me.
Oh.
Jeremy Corbyn?
He was present but not involved.
Netanyahu, Viktor Orban, so the sort of, fun bunch.
All the great lads. All the lads.
It's strange, though, because for such a macho man who clearly has, real issues with women and gay people, it's such a camp thing, the Brazilian inauguration. The president even gets a sash at the end, like a big sash, which is less political party, more hen party, really.
It is going to be very interesting because obviously, Venezuela is now in the throes of complete societal collapse following a communist regime, which was eagerly supported by the left in this country and throughout the West as a viable alternative to capitalism and sort of Freemanesque monetarism, which had swept through South America. So I suppose it's not unreasonable that Donald Trump thinks this one, is worth seeing whether it works. But I don't know how the samba rhythm and the goose step will combine. That will be an interesting.
I think it's one step forward, two steps back. Yeah. One step forward, two steps back.
This is the news that, like me, the International Club of World Leaders has started the year with a fresh Brazilian. Jair Bolsonaro's middle name is Messias, or Messiah in English, and many supporters believe he was chosen by God to lead Brazil. For contrast, Jeremy Corbyn's middle name is Bernard. For a staunch homophobe, Bolsonaro's inauguration ceremony was quite the occasion. Pomp and ceremony with thousands lining the streets. What do we want? No gay people. How should we show it? A parade and horses. Can there be horses? 2 points to Andrew. Simon, who has a problem with their turnover?
Oh, is that an apple turnover? Is that a sort of W.I. cake straw reference? That's very nice. Oh, that's quite sweet and bucolic. If it is Apple, yes. I don't know that it's their turnover or whether it's their share price has tumbled. This is economics news, so if you wanted a lavatory break, this is probably a good time to take one. Apple have had a number of price warnings on their shares. They have tumbled, I think, something in the region of 38% in the last 90 days, which is, given that they were the world's first $1 trillion company prior to that, quite a substantial amount of money. They've had a worse 90 days than the Brexit phenomenon. It's extraordinary. They've even in the last 3 days, I think they've written off roughly what we're paying in the divorce bill, and yet they remain a much more viable proposition than Britain. So that's an alarming way of looking at it. But it's basically about iPhone sales. It is suddenly becoming much less popular, much less profitable. Its sales have collapsed in China, I believe, possibly due to the trade war with Trump, possibly due to them just all having one now. There is 95% uptake in America. I suspect the real problem Apple faces is that my daughter has finally learned how to put the bloody thing in a protective case. If we can roll out that across her generation, then that certainly puts a dent in their business model for the foreseeable future. But I personally have always found it annoying that there is an Apple phone, because obviously it should have been a banana phone, shouldn't it? Because that is just the right shape. I mean, maybe it is the time to introduce that. I don't know. I don't have the full technical know-how. All I will say is this: 25,000 apps and still no bottle opener. I think that's their problem.
Does anyone know how Tim Cook, the CEO, delivered the message to investors that there was some difficulties?
Did he do a massive kind of presentation for hours and hours and at the end go, and just one more thing, we're screwed?
Less excitingly, he sent it to them in a letter. Obviously, nothing shows faith in the efficacy of the Apple Watch than sending all your news out via Johnny Postman, but that is... clearly, he felt he had to do it at sort of arm's length.
Is that where we're going, then, back to paper and pen and... That, I think I'd quite like that. Pigeon delivery.
Smoke signals.
A slower world. Smoke signals.
Or just not knowing stuff.
Just not knowing anything. That would be blissful, wouldn't it?
Oh,
just
lovely.
Absolutely blissful.
Yeah, do you remember if you didn't know something, there was no way of finding out?
No.
Unless you were around, of course.
Well, I can't be in every pub.
Maybe we've just reached peak
stuff.
Peak stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we've got now. Do something else.
Yeah. We've got to go back to knitting and yarning and bobbing and stuff.
I always thought knitting was a great way to communicate.
Yeah. I really want to say it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what dolphins are doing, really? That clicking sound there?
That's why if someone asked you a sort of question, you would very slowly knit them a scarf that would have the word yes on it, or very slowly knit them a scarf that had the word no on it. Or
well, it's just a lot more considered than the sort of flyaway comments that you get on Twitter. You know, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. If you had to sit down and knit an actual response, halfway through you go, I can't be bothered.
Were you about to say something?
Only that my mother knits in front of the television every night for the last, 60 years or so, rather than double screening, and she remains a virulent racist, so it doesn't necessarily... The overactive glands, I'm afraid, but there we are.
I mean, of course, think how much worse she might be if she didn't knit socks. This is Apple, whose share price sank more than 7% this week after revealing that sales are down. Chief Executive Tim Cook said the firm's sales problems were primarily in its Greater China region, a region that includes Taiwan and Hong Kong, and by 2050, the UK. Is there a route back to dominance for Apple? Not if they use Apple Maps, the app for people who love their drive home to be a tour of local industrial estates punctuated with a lungful of canal water. Of course, as a proud Brit, my phone is made by Amstrad. It's just like an iPhone, but instead of Siri, you press a button which puts you through direct to Alan Sugar, who gabbles a stream of baffling invective at you, before putting Karen Brady on, who hangs up. 2 points to Simon. And at the end of round one, the scores are Hugo and Zoe have 4, but Andrew and Simon have 5. We start round 2 with an extract from a community newsletter in Sutton Coldfield.
A group of local residents hold a whist drive in the church hall every Monday. Sadly, 2 players passed away recently, but one's back after a full recovery.
Thanks to Debbie Yardley for sending us that. Hugo, which little sweeties are going over their allowance?
Okay, this is a weird story. This is about sugar, right? It was in the paper that children in the UK have exceeded the maximum regular sugar intake for an 18-year-old by the time they're 10, right? Which is baffling. So the easy way of understanding this is kids are eating too much sugar. That's basically what the story is. But the way they've chosen to frame it is really confusing. They're talking about the total amount of sugar you should have eaten. If you added together all the sugar by the time you're 18, people have eaten that by the time they're 10. So by the time they're 10, they've eaten the equivalent of an extra 28,000 sugar cubes, meaning they've eaten 50,000 sugar cubes by the time they're 10, but they only should have eaten 22,000 sugar cubes by the time they're 10, which is just a really odd way of talking about it, but it does get you thinking that if a sugar cube is about the same size as a teaspoon of sugar, that means the 50,000 that you should have eaten by the time you're 18, if you put them all in a bath, you could just have a whole bath full of sugar and not eat any sugar, and then eat that the day before your 18th birthday. And that would be better for you than buying your daughter a twirl. And that is what this story is about, Miles. I hope that helps.
No, that is, you have made it all crystal clear.
I have a theory about the reason why we've got so many fat kids. It's undoubtedly diet is there, but I think it's just as important is central heating. It's the fact they've got central heating these days. I think we ate the same amount of sugar when we were kids, but we needed that to keep us warm through the night. Whereas now, the millennials, but they've got a magic button on a wall. They've no idea how we live.
Is that what your plumber told you it was? Well, it's got to be 450, you see, Mr. Maxwell, because I've actually put a magic button on your wall. OK, goodness, that's what I'm happy to pay that amount. Yeah.
Well, scoff at my idea, but it's true. I don't think the kids understand.
So if you sleep in a cold environment, for instance,
yes,
and you are burning...
You're burning, your core temperature has to stay up.
But weren't you at the same time 12 to a bed in your childhood? Isn't that what... I'm sure I read a book about that.
I'm a Protestant. There was only 2 of us, but thanks.
Okay.
But I think we need to tell the kids these days. They don't understand how we old people lived before central heating.
With all due respect, Andrew, I don't think I lived like you did, to be honest with you.
You had central heating?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes. And at one point, we actually had an Argo cooker. So, yes.
You don't know how it was.
That is really fancy pants. How many doors?
It was a 4-door Argo cooker. A 4-door double-hole Argo cooker, yeah.
This is how it used to be, Zoe, back in the day. Yeah? One room in the house was too hot to go into. Yeah, I mean, you'd open the door and look in and the air would be doing that wavy thing like a Spanish motorway. In every other room, it was just 50-50 whether you made it through the night.
Do you have anything you wish to say on the subject of sugar or
I think
baths
sugar is an
or
important part of
Earth's
parenting,
core?
always has been. I would tend to agree with Andrew that, in fact, it is environmental causes that have created obesity. I think children have always eaten sugar and parents have always regarded it as a very important part of parenting. It is the, I mean, it is basically cocaine for kids, isn't it? Sugar, it creates a rush of euphoria followed by cravings, and consequently it creates in your child the same toxic bond of affection for you that a user feels for his dealer, and that's what a parent needs. You have to be allowed to leverage that. But to be honest, I'm also quite indifferent if it does make them fat. Good, frankly. I've come quite late to parenting, you know. My son is 11, I'm 53. I need to slow him down a little bit. It's nice, plump, obedient children. That's what I like.
This is the news that children in the UK exceed the maximum recommended sugar intake for an 18-year-old by the time they're 10. The number one source of sugar in children's diets is fizzy drinks and energy drinks, but who can blame them? You've simply got to sink a can of Relentless on the way to nursery if you want to truly dominate the sandpit. Parents can improve the health of their children by making simple swaps. For example, in the school playground, try swapping your child for a different, better one. 2 points to Hugo. Zoe, who's been welcomed to the dark side?
Oh, these are the space stories of the week. The Chinese have just managed to land a space probe on the dark side of the moon, or far side of the moon as it's also called. The Chang'e 4 has touched down and sent back images straight away of a massive crater and 2 old dudes sitting there listening to Pink Floyd's classic prog rock album whilst chopping away on a couple of space cigarettes. So it's all very important stuff. They're very excited, the Chinese, about doing this because they're very keen to take part in the space race. Is it that? Is it a race? I don't know. We've been dropping things on the moon for quite a long time. I mean, the first probe to land on the moon was 59. It was the Russians, Luna 2. And have things really progressed since then? I don't think so. You still can't get a decent coffee. There's not a Centre Parks. It still looks a bit shit, to be honest.
It's gentrifying very slowly, isn't
very,
it? the moon?
very, very slowly.
It will come up, though. It will come up.
But it's been a busy week in the space. That's the technical term for it. You're welcome. Keep up.
Welcome to Zoe Lyon's Space Roundup.
Space Roundup. I'll be using big words, so try and keep up. NASA had a little success as well this week with their new Horizons probe, which has now recorded the furthest thing ever away, ever? I told you it'd be technical, not all of you are going to get this. It's been on a mission for about 12 years, right? It's about 4 billion miles away from Earth, and it's taken pictures of a bit of debris called Ultima Thule, which is also my little nickname for Michael Gove. It's fascinating.
It was in the shape of a snowman.
A snowman, and yeah.
The furthest away thing from us is a snowman that we've found so far.
It was in the shape of a crap snowman.
It was a
there
British...
There was no nose, there was no hat, there was no...
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a council estate snowman. I don't understand how there is another side to the moon. The moon is a ball.
It's because it's very clever, because it rotates at the same speed that we rotate, so we never see one side of it, like a really skilled burlesque dancer with feathers. That's what the moon is. It's like that. No. No.
Start again.
Yeah.
So go on. So explain.
It's because of the way we rotate and the moon rotates.
It's a ball.
It's a ball. We're a ball.
Going around the sun. It's going around us.
Yeah.
How do we never see the other bit of it?
We're just always asleep. I told you it was technical, Andrew.
But hang on. So
you understand?
But does that mean there's a dark side of the Earth for the moon people?
No, because... Because the Earth rotates.
Yes. Does the moon not rotate?
The moon doesn't rotate on its own axis. He bullshitted wildly. I think.
What does the moon do?
The moon, the same bit of it faces us all the time. It doesn't rotate on its own axis.
Ah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
and the Chinese have just discovered that, have they?
Do you know they've sent fruit flies to it? There are fruit flies right now probably dying on the moon.
Who did that?
The Chinese.
On the dark side.
That's really like, oh God, we've not got a gift. What do you suppose moon people like? Fruit fly, maybe?
So, well, it sounds like the moon people get a better deal out of it than us, because they get to see all of our planet.
Yeah. In many ways, Andrew, the moon people are the lucky ones. This is a busy week in space, as the Chinese have landed on the far side of the moon and a NASA space probe has completed a flyby of a distant astral object, Ultima Thule. Scientists believe the far side of the moon could be an excellent place to perform astronomy because it's shielded from the radio noise of Earth, which means they can get on with their work without someone putting on Magic FM. Alan Stern, the mission's principal investigator, said Ultima Thule was likely to be shaped like a bowling pin, but with two bulbous ends. Or, as you might otherwise think of it, not like a bowling pin. Ultima Thule lies 4 billion miles from Earth in a band of dwarf planets and icy debris whose very existence was previously unknown, except, of course, by Sir Philip Green, who's been domiciled there for tax purposes since April 2016. The official name of Ultima Thule is 486958214 MU69. If you want to know your own official NASA name, simply take the year your mother was discovered and the minor planet designation of your first pet. 2 points to 0. Simon, have a listen to this. Just lovely. Where were the police called over something incy-wincy?
This is, I think, preposterous story. There is something very fishy going on here, but the story as reported so far is that the police were called because an alarming sequence of screams had been heard in a domestic property in Australia, I think in Melbourne, and somebody screaming, "Why won't you die?" and a small child screaming and howling with fear. It was presumed that a domestic was going on, possibly a murder, and the police turned up, and in fact the man shouting was alarmed by a spider which had appeared and which he couldn't kill, it seems. Now, on the face of it, this is quite an amusing idea, isn't it? That, Australia is, of course, full of dangerous spiders and snakes and so on, and that somebody who's living there is not... But it's nonsense, isn't it? You don't shout, "Why won't you die?" at a spider. There's nothing you can do to a spider to try and kill it that doesn't work, is there? You can't just shout, "Why don't you die?" If you throw a book at it, or attack it with a fire extinguisher, or kick it, or jump on it it will die. They're not muscle men. It will die, so it doesn't make any sense. And I suspect he has, in fact, murdered his wife and then cooked up this clever little spider story, which the Australian Tourist Board love a bit of that. So I suspect there is something else is going to emerge from this. Because, I could kill I've killed loads of spiders. I have a special spray for it. It's the same one we use to freeze the dog poos, funnily enough, which I found is very effective on spiders. And then once they're rigid, I can remove them into the garden and then allow them to thaw.
Why do you freeze your dog poos?
And why do you then allow them to thaw
if you really want to freeze them, you've got to pop them in the freezer. But if you can just create a bit of a crust on the exterior through lowering the temperature, that makes them easier to remove from the lawn. They come up in a single piece, then. That's the idea with the frozen dog spray.
Have you not heard of a trowel?
Yeah, but you take off a layer of lawn then, don't you, if you're not careful?
But it comes back.
It under there. Yeah, well, possibly. I quite enjoy freezing them. It's,
Well, it's good to have a hobby, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've worked in a banana farm in Australia, and I have seen some spiders that would break your arms. Honestly, yeah. I used to wake up in the morning, the spiders weren't in my shoes, they were wearing them around the room. I've struggled to kill a spider. I've dropped a book on one and it just didn't. We just read it. It just...
I have eaten giant spider in Cambodia. This place where they were a delicacy. They deep fried them. They were really big. Like you got to sort of pick them up and they ran around your hands, and then they deep fried them, and then you got to eat them. And they tasted sort of like chicken. But if you stuffed it with spiders. It was really, really horrible. They said you were only really meant to eat the legs.
Good at Christmas, though, if everybody likes a leg.
Some of the things that I shout at inanimate objects, if the neighbours sort of hear through the walls or whatever. On Boxing Day, I decided that there was a child seat on the back of a bike that I didn't want there, and I couldn't find the instructions, so I tried to take it off, and it was very, very difficult, and it was very fiddly, and I went completely bananas, and I was really, really screaming. And that ward goes through our neighbour's kitchen, and they will have spent the morning thinking, that man absolutely hates somebody called Alan Keyes. This is the latest from Australia, where police sent multiple officers to an emergency call that turned out to be a man screaming, "Why don't you die?" at a spider. Why don't you die? It's not that bad, is it really? I've certainly written worse on a cake. This is sadly a typical story in parts of Australia. Terrifying spider scares man, man overreacts, noise attracts shark which eats everyone involved, and now the weather. Sadly, the spider was later eaten by Harry Redknapp. Nothing to do with I'm a Celebrity. The guy simply turned into an absolute menace. 2 points. Simon. Andrew, which royal is a real fun guy?
Prince Philip. He has invented, not invented, he is the first person ever to successfully cultivate a black truffle. Apparently he's been at it for years, the old cove. He went away on a thrilling trip to Italy and discovered the pleasures of the truffle. And he got into Sandringham, which he's been the squire of since he was betrothed to the monarch. And he brought in some oak trees that were poisoned with the spores of the truffle deliberately. And he has attempted over many decades to cultivate the truffle. It is now announced this week that he has.
Well, you're almost right. He was the first person in Britain to cultivate a successful crop of black truffles.
That is what is being said.
No, you said ever.
Ever.
First person in Britain ever. You said the first person ever.
Ever. In Britain. I think I specified England.
Oh, okay.
I may be wrong.
Trust me, in the edit, you won't. I'm just too petty to allow that sort of thing to pass. Hugo,
What do you want?
Don't you think this is a feel-good story that we can all get behind, Hugo?
I don't know. It's nice. He's got a hobby. It's really odd. I don't know. I've got nothing.
Delicious, though. I mean, hats off to him if he indeed has succeeded in doing that.
Simon, we must come to you because I know this is one of your specialist subjects.
No.
My mistake.
Let's press on.
This is the news that the Duke of Edinburgh has grown rare truffles, a typical problem when you get to his age and don't move around as much as you used to. On the one hand, it's quite impressive that a man of his age could undertake a task requiring such dedication. On the other hand, stage 2 of the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme last year just says, "Bring me truffles" in angry crayon. The Royal Fruit Farm also grows apples, pears and some of the blackcurrants used in Ribena, which technically means that the Queen owns 12% of every child in Britain. 2 points to Andrew. Before we reveal the final scores, has anybody got a cutting that they would like to share? Hugo.
Yes, this is sent in by John Hamilton, and it is the day programme for people studying for an RSPH Level 4 award in managing food safety. Day 1 begins 9:30, introduction, your role in food safety management, food microbiology and foodborne disease. 12:30, lunch. 1:30, food poisoning.
Zoe.
Karen Carroll read this in the Times Online. A devout churchgoer in his 80s has become Britain's oldest stalker after he became infatuated with a woman he met through their shared interest in the Bible. He was eventually reported to police after being seen repeatedly lurking around her cul-de-sac.
Andrew.
This saucy little number has been sent in by John Putley in Cheltenham, who saw this in the wanted section of a local Cheltenham recycling/reuse forum. My granddaughter is going to her first music festival and needs a 4-man tent. I think we all know where that's going. Huh?
Simon.
This is from Dave Smith in Wendover and chimed with me at the end of another school holiday. This week we have a junior tennis tournament at the club, and as such the bar will be open from 9 a.m.
Thank you. And now let's take a look at the final score. Hugo and Zoe have 8, but this week's winners are Andrew and Simon with 9. Before we leave you, here is an advert spotted on the Leicester Freecycle website, sent in by Brett Richardson.
For sale, dressing table with mirror for a lady with thin legs and large drawers.
And with that, goodbye.
Taking part in the News Quiz Extra were Hugo Rifkin, Zoe Lyons, Andrew Maxwell and Simon Evans. In the chair was Miles Jupp and the news was read by me, Alan Smith. The chair's script was written by Nick Doody, Jenny Laville and Benjamin Partridge, with additional material by Simon Alcock, Catherine Brinkworth and Kat Sadler. The producer was Sarah Sharp and it was a BBC Studios production.